From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
And the teacher would have shot the hell out of him before he went.
President Trump expands on his proposal to arm teachers.
Plus, we'll take a look inside One Valley training to ensure the entire family knows how to handle weapons responsibly.
And how a new federal proposal would change the requirements of the food stamp program and change the rules for thousands of Arizonans who depend on them.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Alexis Burdine.
And I'm Chaz Frazier. Thank you for joining us.
President Donald Trump is backing his proposal to arm up to 20% of school teachers in the wake of the Florida school shootings. He spoke today at the Conservative Political Action Conference, saying teachers who already have training should be allowed to carry a concealed weapon to protect their students.
So this crazy man who walked in wouldn't even know who it is that has it. That's good. It's not bad, that's good. And the teacher would have shot the hell out of him before he went.
Meanwhile, in the Valley, students walked out of Westview High School in Avondale to demand gun control, holding a short demonstration on the football field. And classes are back on today at St. Mary's Catholic High School in Phoenix, a day after a student's threat against a classmate led to school being canceled.
Activist groups yelled a youth speak out on school safety beyond gun control here in Phoenix. They say a blanket gun control crackdown would actually hurt minority students. Groups like ASU's Mecca and Puente Youth say the national conversations about youth violence can criminalize students of color. They marched today in downtown Phoenix in an effort for disarming school resource officers because of what they call disproportionate racial bias at school. Student participants also say they feel compelled to march to support each other.
I think this march is going to make students feel more united, and it's going to show them they're not alone, especially with so many shootings happening. It can really, cause depression in a lot of students and worry. But I think there's nothing better than bringing everyone together and to show that they're not alone.
They say their biggest concerns are recognizing police violence. They want added school resources to prevent violence, not just zero-tolerance policies and gun control.
A Phoenix elementary school is fundraising online so it can keep its school resource officer on campus. Wilson Elementary School will not receive a state grant to fund an on-campus police officer for the next cycle. The school has started a GoFundMe page to raise money, saying it's vital to keep an officer on campus since it's in a high-crime area. The principal says the school funding for the officer will run out in May unless it can raise $125,000 each year for the next 2 years.
In the face of growing gun debate over guns, the Scottsdale Gun Club is offering a family firearms safety class to free to the public. Amanda Slee attended the training to see what safety measures they suggest.
Take out the mystery, and you take out much of the risk factor around guns. That's the premise of this safety course. Hago Parchinian has 2 young children.
I want them to be easier around them because when they become nervous, it's easier for that finger to pull that trigger.
And that's what this class aims to prevent. Put on by the Scottsdale Gun Club, the idea is to train families on how to properly handle and use guns. That includes teaching parents their responsibilities and helping children know what to do in certain situations involving a firearm.
A couple of kindred friends asked her to help them settle an argument with another group of kids.
Attendees were taught to always treat a gun like it's loaded, keep it pointed in a safe direction, and keep your finger off the trigger.
Every year, the Arizona Child Fatality Review Program publishes a report on child deaths in Arizona. It says 33% of the time, if there was a gun involved, it was owned by a parent.
A large percentage of the American family, the American homes, do have firearms in them. And obviously everyone in the family respecting the firearm, treating it safely, just like you do anything else in your house. that could potentially be dangerous is, of course, very important.
This report also shows there was a 29% increase in firearm-related deaths from 2015 to 2016. At this training, the young audience was taught when encountering a gun, don't touch it and report it to an adult.
I felt much better that the instructor tell us what to do.
In Scottsdale, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
Federal officials want to toughen the requirement that childless, able-bodied adults have to get a job if they want to get extended food stamp benefits. Cronkite News reporter Adiana Bustos brings us the story from Washington, where the notice was officially posted today.
Michael Tanner, senior fellow at the Cato Institute, says people are taking advantage of food stamps.
Half of all the people on the program today have been there for 5 years or longer. It is increasingly becoming something that people take for granted, and we really need to do our best to transition people out of dependency and into self-sufficiency.
The USDA's proposal would mean enforcing work requirements for childless, able-bodied adults who are on the program for more than 3 months. In Arizona, over 12% of households participate in SNAP, and 12 counties are exempt from the work requirements. The USDA's plan would mean limiting that to 2, Yuma and Apache. Tanner says if someone is able-bodied, they should be working or working to get a job.
The elderly are not required to work, children are not required to work, pregnant women are not required to work. This is actually fairly narrowly tailored to able-bodied adults who can work, and to the degree that they can, they should, or be in job training or being in job search. There's a variety of ways to meet this requirement.
President of Food Tank, Danielle Nierenberg, says work requirements only make things harder for the poor.
We're really, hurting the poorest of the poor here when we make additional requirements for something that's already, they have to jump through enough hoops already to get those benefits in the first place.
Tanner says no one wants to deny benefits for unemployed, able-bodied people when they are in need, but that limiting the time is necessary.
The program has always allowed people to stay temporarily without working, because it's understood people lose their jobs and they need help in the short term, and that this is a way to boost them up. But people shouldn't necessarily be on this program for 4, 5, 6 years without working.
Reporting from Washington, Adiana Bustos, Cronkite News.
We reached out to the Arizona Department of Economic Security, which manages the SNAP program for the state, but an official said the department does not comment on pending regulations.
A controversial bill is now headed to the Arizona House of Representatives for debate. The state Senate approved legislation yesterday to require doctors to specifically ask a woman why she is seeking an abortion. The proposal is fiercely opposed by most Democrats, who say it's meant to shame women. But supporters say it updates reporting to keep women safe.
Text messages between Arizona congressional candidate Steve Montenegro and former state Senate Republicans employee have been released. Stephanie Holford says she regrets her flirtatious relationship with Montenegro. Montenegro still denies he has had any inappropriate relationship and says he told his wife immediately when he received a topless photo from Holford. Montenegro is running for representative of Arizona's 8th congressional district, which was vacated by Trent Franks after sexual harassment scandals. There's a new wave of Arizona's take part in pressuring the state's natural beauty.
Coming up on Cronkite News, a new app is making it possible for scientists to crowdsource data about Arizona's rivers and streams. We'll tell you how you can help.
And will our temperatures be closer to average for this time of year? I'll tell you in your complete forecast coming up.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
By
by the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
Next time you go for a hike, state officials are asking that you give some extra attention to the water along your path. Reporter Nicole Hernandez shows us how a new app can get you involved in water research.
Out here near Saguaro Lake, streams are flowing after our recent rains. Protecting Arizona's natural streams and rivers, like this one, is the goal of the Arizona Water Watch program.
We've got a great team of scientists at DEQ, but with volunteers and citizen science helping us, we're able to really boost our data points up. It's really exciting.
The Arizona Department of Water Quality is asking for your help to show them the rivers and streams all over the state by using a new mobile app.
So while people are out recreating, kind of hiking and enjoying Arizona's beautiful scenery, they can just kind of download this app and then help us kind of collect flow regime information. So is the stream flowing or not? Is there trash present or not?
Megan Smart, who's coordinating the data, uses the information and pictures that people send in to figure out where scientists can do more in-depth research. With this information, scientists from many agencies can determine pollution sources and when rivers are flowing throughout the year.
Arizona Game and Fish or USGS, we kind of all share and talk, and it's all really to protect our beautiful water bodies in the state.
The Water Watch app is not the only way you can get involved. If you want to learn more, you can be trained to be a citizen scientist, where you take equipment like this bottle and other equipment to a stream and actually collect samples yourself.
I find it pretty fun too. You get to wear gloves, you get to kind of get some sample sets, you get to use some funky equipment.
And the citizen scientists take their job seriously.
We have to be aware that water doesn't just come from anywhere. It comes from the sky, and when it happens, we need to jump on it. And having hundreds of different volunteers out in the community taking these samples makes it that much easier to get these large results.
I really believe that people, when they live in connection with their ecosystem, they're so bonded and connected, and they know this area so well. They're just a wealth of knowledge.
Near Saguaro Lake, Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
Last year, volunteers collected over 6,000 data points across the state. For information on how to download the Water Watch app, visit cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
There's snow in the high country and there's frost in the valley.
We are crossing our fingers for a bit of a weekend warm-up. Matt Kling has our forecast.
Yes, guys, and you see this snow. This was from the Arizona Snow Bowl Ski Resort up in Flagstaff. They tweeted out that they're expecting about 9 inches of snow today. This was heavier snow from this morning, just a sight to see. You can see the snow up in the northern part of the state and some clouds throughout the valley. It's going to clear out overnight, but if you are heading out tonight, you will want your jacket. It's going to be about 50 degrees tonight, about 8 o'clock. It's going to be a little bit windy as well, 15-mile-an-hour winds. Tomorrow, if you're heading to spring training games, it will be pretty chilly. It's going to be really cold when you wake up, too. About 56 degrees if you're heading out to a game in Glendale, Peoria, Tempe, or Scottsdale. It will be a little bit warmer on Sunday. 65 degrees will be your high. 70 will be the high on Monday, but there is an expecting chance of rain on Tuesday, and the temps will drop after that. In the Weather Center, I'm Matt Kling.
Stay tuned here on Arizona PBS for our top social stories for this week, coming up on our Cronkite News Refresh.
And for top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org. Have a good evening.
Welcome to @Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites. YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Let's get a refresh on the top Arizona news of the week.
Students at Mesa High School walked out of school at noon today to protest better gun control regulations. That's after the shooting in Parkland, Florida that left 17 dead. Reporter Amanda Slee walked with students as they talked about school safety and gun reform.
It was a whole community coming together. It's not just there were other parents out here lining up watching us. It's not just the kids. It's not just kids ditching school. We're actually here together.
Hundreds of these high school students walked out of class and headed to a nearby park to take a stand against shootings happening on school campuses and to advocate for safety.
We have Mesa PD, we have fences, and there hasn't been a school shooting. I believe that we should do that for every school around the country.
Yeah, you have that sense of, hey, could this be my last day? But in the general sense, everyone feels pretty safe. Everyone feels pretty, pretty okay.
Students gathered around as fellow classmates stood up to speak and hold up signs. Mesa High School's principal, Kirk Thomas, sent an email to parents saying he asked faculty to discourage students from leaving, but was working with Mesa Police to ensure student safety.
Today will be treated like any other day. It's not supported by the district. But if they happen to get a parent that calls in and excuses them for what they've done for this, not what they've done for being absent, I'm confident that the district will treat this just like any other absence.
The walkout ended after about 20 minutes. Students sang their school song, Carry On. We'll fight forever. In Mesa, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
Havasupai Falls is an iconic natural landmark at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Hundreds visit its turquoise waters every year.
Cronkite News reporter Lillian Donahue went to the village of Supai, where those who call Havasupai home are fearful of their future.
Thank you. The Colorado River is the lifeblood of the Grand Canyon region, but the Havasupai people who call this canyon their home are worried that a uranium mine just miles from the national park could contaminate their water. We exclusively followed activists as they brought the community's concerns from the canyon to the nation's capital.
Havasupai, that means people of the blue-green water. That's who we are. That's our identity right there.
Tucked in the southwest corner of the Grand Canyon is a community of 700 men, women, and children of the Havasupai tribe fighting for their future. As a uranium mine hopes to begin production this year, just 6 miles south from the Grand Canyon National Park.
It's threatening our whole lives down here. You know, we have children, we've grown up here, we plant corn, we depend on the water.
To make their voices heard, a group of Native advocates and leaders took to their traditions, running over 20 miles in and out of the village of Supai in a journey to bring the pleas of the tribe's children from the bottom of the Grand Canyon to our nation's capital.
These children have so much more life to live than any one of us, and it's really their voice that needs to be heard. Granted, we can't take them and put them on an airplane and fly them to the East Coast, so we're doing the next best thing as their leaders, as their representatives, and we're going to deliver their voices to Washington, D.C.
Across this bridge in the Havasupai Creek starts the village of Supai. Out of respect for the Tribal Council's wishes, they have asked us not to film video on their grounds. However, we will take audio and pictures.
Have love, give love, be in love.
After a blessing, the runners meet with elementary school children, collecting letters that voice their concerns for mining impacts on the land, including their water source, the Colorado River.
Dear Mr. President, I'm a student at Havasupai Elementary School and a member of the Havasupai Baja tribe.
In 2012, the Obama administration instituted a 20-year ban on new uranium mining. Now the Trump administration is considering lifting that ban. For companies like Energy Fuels, it makes it easier to continue their plan to collect more than 2 million pounds of uranium from the Canyon mine.
Contamination from the mining has the potential to impact rivers and water sources downstream.
A spokesperson for the company says the mine is small, yet important for the state.
We estimate that the uranium that comes out of the Canyon mine could provide all of the electricity for the state of Arizona for about a year.
Moore also says he wants to ensure the people of Supai that water contamination will not be an issue.
And if I really thought that there would be any chance that we were going to harm any of that, I simply couldn't work for this company.
But the people who live in these red rock valleys and desert canyons are hesitant to trust mining companies who they say have exploited their land before.
We've been hurt so much from uranium exploration in tribal communities. That legacy is there, and there's nobody coming in to clean up the mess.
For some at the Havasupai Elementary School, the runner's visit empowers them.
It's incredible because I never knew that other people knew that Supai existed, and it's really awesome to have him here, really to come and help us make a bigger voice out of us.
The children have a strong voice, and we let them know that their ancestors fought very hard for to continue their way of life teaching, and they're going to do the same by writing these letters.
In just this 2017-2018 school year alone, 18 kids have died from suicide here in the Valley. I spoke with one family who's been instrumental in working to get a bill introduced to help schools improve training to spot students in trouble.
He just was a top-notch kid and top-notch person.
Tim Warnock speaks about his son Mitch, who passed away after death by suicide in October 2016. Mitch was a student at Corona del Sol High School in Tempe and was a championship pole vault athlete.
Incredibly hard worker, very dedicated to being the best that he could be, extremely competitive, very independent, fiercely independent, and that's probably part of what got him into a little bit of trouble.
Mitch's death is a part of an alarming increase in teen suicide throughout the state. According to a report by Arizona Child Fatality Review Program, Arizona has seen an 81% increase in child suicide rates since 2009. This problem, Warnock says, can be partly attributed to the lack of care schools show to kids in need of emotional help.
As parents and as teachers who see what the vast majority of teachers are doing and how much they care and how much they're going above and beyond, we just took for granted that there could be school environments that were heartless.
In January, SB 1391, more commonly known as the Mitch Warnock Act, was proposed. This bill would require school employees in all Arizona school districts and charter schools to receive training to spot the signs of suicidal behavior. Katie McPherson is an executive director at the Gurion Institute for Educational Consulting, who believes suicide prevention training is essential.
Things have changed. Kids are coming to school with some trauma, with some neglect, with some pretty heavy issues. And so part of being a teacher is sustaining and building that relationship.
Opposition for the bill includes questions about funding and overloading teachers with too much responsibility. However, State Representative Mitzi Epstein, supporter of Mitch's bill, feels such pushback is insignificant when it comes to saving lives.
I live across the street from a high school, and that high school has these stories happen far too often. And I am hurting from it, and my whole community is hurting from it. And when we can stop the hurt, let's do that. Let's stop the hurt. Let's save lives.
I would have traded everything to have him take that next breath. And I don't want another parent to have to endure that, or another set of high school friends to have to endure that, or their teachers.
Now, here's an @Cronkite News Pick of the Week, a favorite from the Cronkite News staff.
Millions of golf balls are lost on the course each year, but that isn't always the end of this story.
Reporter Grayson Choi dives into the process of retrieving and recycling these missing golf balls.
Lee Ivanko's Valley-based companies help turn the misfortune of some golfers into an opportunity for others.
We've been in this business now for 30 years. We love the business and we love being in the Valley. We've expanded into 20 other states, we pull in about 10 million balls a year.
Ivanko owns Desert Golf, which collects lost golf balls, and Sunshine Golf, which sorts and sells those balls. It is estimated by the Danish Golf Union that approximately 300 million golf balls in the United States are lost each year. To keep lakes clean and disturbances at a minimum, Ivanko hires divers like John Waynon to retrieve balls hit into lakes. Waynon said he often spends several hours searching for balls underwater, the first step towards recycling them for extended use.
I collect the golf balls into a mesh bag that I have strapped to me through a PVC tee. And so basically you just kind of go through the mud, waving your hands around, and you go by feel a lot of times.
To put in perspective how many golf balls are found, divers can actually find 200 to 300 golf balls in a single lake. After divers collect the balls, they are transferred to a processing plant where they are sorted, graded, and processed for wholesale purchase globally. With reports suggesting that 100 million golf balls are recovered annually, businesses like Sunshine Golf and Desert Golf are changing the life expectancy of all those mishit golf balls. In Mesa, Grace and Choi, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News tracks your likes, tweets, and shares from all our social sites to bring you this special at Cronkite News, our weekly refresh. Join the conversation so you choose the news. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org for top Arizona stories anytime.